So my name's Jack Grisham, and I'm in True Sounds of Liberty, or TSOL. What is punk rock? I think to me, punk rock's just doing whatever the fuck you want to do without being in a box, the minute you say you're something, then you got a problem. I watch these bands and say, oh, we're this, we're that, we're this, and then all of a sudden they're confined. For me, like punk rock was, you just do whatever the fuck you want to do and don't waste your life, jump in, do something, create something, make something, any sound, any instrument. I'd fucking never picked up, well, I played the cello, I can't really say that, but you know what I mean? It was like anybody, just, oh yeah, you, kid, come on, jump up here and grab the mic, you're in the band. You know, that's how it was to me. It was just fucking jump in and do it.
So what's the age difference? Because I know Brandon is 23.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
What's the oldest guy in the band, if you don't mind to say?
No, I don't mind at all. So it's trippy. So Brandon, our bass player Mike he's recouping. So we got Brandon playing bass for us. And so Brandon's 20, he's 23. I'm 61. Sure. And Brandon's 23. And I'll tell you what was bitching. I've fucking been around the world. I've been around the country. I can tell you, if you can drop me off in Iowa in the middle of nowhere and I'll go, oh yeah, there's a liquor store up here on the corner, drop me in Paris. I say, oh, around the corner from the bus stop, there's that little cafe. I mean, I'm jaded, man. I've been too much. I'm tired. So we go out with Brandon, and Brandon has only played little shows for his friend in garages, and he's not even a bass player. He's a guitar player, and anyway, so we bring him out with us, and Brandon's 23 years old, stoked, never been on tour, never been on a stage like that, and the first show we play, he walks out to 1,000 people. And just like, fuck, what the fuck? And they're cheering for him and shit, yelling at him. And it's bitching, and the cool thing is Brandon's like family. He's like a family member. So having him with us is really, it's bitching, man. And it reopened my eyes. Like it made me think, going back to the question, what is punk rock? What Brandon reminded me of was when a kid could just get out, come out of the crowd, come out of his friends, jump up, grab an instrument and just play. And it was so innocent and cool. And so it's great. It's great having him with us, man. It's really fun.
Do you guys feel like you're passing the torch with having him on?
Well, it's interesting you say, do we feel like passing the torch having Brandon with us? Yeah, a bit. And it's funny because our bass player, Mike, so Mike and Brandon got together, and so Brandon's our bass player, Mike's our bass player. So Brandon's filling in for Mike. And so Brandon and Mike got together and they got their heads down and they're in front of the amp, and Mike's going, okay, get this sound, turn this up like this, turn this up. And, he's showing Brandon how to get the sound, that Mike had created fucking 40-something years ago. He's showing Brandon how to get that sound, and and it was just bitching, and that's what Mike said to me. He goes, God, it feels kind of like passing the torch a little bit, and I'll tell you a funny story. So Iggy Pop, we were in Atlanta and playing a show in Atlanta. God, this was 40 years ago. And Iggy Pop came backstage and he was wearing like a bathrobe and he's hanging out and he goes, here's how to get the Berlin sound. And so he was passing the torch to us. He's saying, okay, put the mic here between this, sing through this amp. So yeah, it's cool that Iggy was teaching us 40-something years ago, and now we're teaching Brandon. So it's bitching. It's bitching. You never, and especially this kind of music, who would have fucking thought that this kind of any rock would still be around? Like you wouldn't think about it, man. And still going. I have literally had kids say, my grandfather got me into you guys. Fuck, really? But if you think about it, if you're in a nightclub and you see a guy who's 35 years old, that's not really that old, man. At a nightclub, that's cool. That's not like that's 35 years old at a nightclub hanging out, right? Okay. We went on our first tour in 1981. 1981. So that's 41 years ago. So you take that 35-year-old in 1981 and put those 45 years on him, and you got a 76-year-old guy. 76-year-old guy who had dug this music coming around. And that 76-year-old guy had a kid who had a kid, you know, so it's trippy, man. And I always laugh whenever I see the little babies, like some kids bring babies or some people bring babies or little kids to the show. I always think job security, bitch. Fucking job security.
So it's like a full circle.
God damn, yeah, keep them coming.
So with that being said, like, where do you see the future of punk rock moving to?
Well, the only trouble is, here's the problem. That so many of the punk bands, this is what I notice these days, so many of the punk bands do what we were rejecting. Like the way they treat their fans. Like when I first got into punk rock or whatever, fans and band, it was a straight line. Nobody was above anyone else. Nobody was better, cooler, greater. And now I see some of these bands that act like rock stars a little bit, you know, which is a bummer. I don't like seeing it. And I don't like seeing these bands that get a certain sound and they think, oh, you're punk rock because you're playing that sound. You know, you're playing this tempo, that sound. Well, you know, it's not. And I remember I was seeing, God, who was it? It was like, what was it? Backstreet Boys. Fucking Backstreet Boys. And one of the Backstreet Boys was wearing like all black and dark. He's like all fucking heavy. Now, he's singing some fucking, you know, Backstreet Boys are in the house, whatever he's singing. But if you pulled him out of there, you could have thrown him in one of these punk bands today and he would have fit right in, man. I thought, oh, that's fucked, man. Yeah. That's fucked up. So, you know, if these people let go and try shit and have fun and not take themselves so fucking seriously, then this music will keep going on and be fun. But other than that, if they don't, it's just going to be a bummer.
So you think it's like less about the sound and more about like the culture?
Attitude. That's right. Freedom, attitude, anything goes. That's what was bitching about. Anything goes. I mean, I try to explain to people, when I got into this, Black Flag would play a show with the Go-Go's. Go-Go's and Black Flag on the same bill. Now, you're never fucking doing, I mean, that would just be unheard of. But that would be the kind of show that would be on. Be like Devo playing with a hardcore band or whatever, or Wall of Voodoo, you know, I mean, you know, would be playing with hardcore bands. So they were just, you know, everybody had their own sound, did their own thing, and nobody cared. It was all this cool, open attitude. You know, and that's the other thing that's kind of fucked. I mean, I blame these music journalists a bit. It's like, punk rock gets going, and then people start classifying it. Oh, you're hardcore, you're emo-core, you're softcore, you know, it's like, God damn it, stop, man. They just start putting it in all these, you know, classifications that was just, it was a bummer. It was a bummer.
I got two more questions for you. How did this all start for you in the band and even you personally? Yeah,
the whole music thing for me, I'm not a... I'm not really a singer. I like to cause trouble. That's it. I like to cause trouble. So let's look at my life like a movie. So if my life's like a movie and, you know, and I'm out there in the car and I'm driving crazy and I'm maybe doing some burglaries or robbing or whatever, you can't put the Carpenters behind that. You know what I mean? If I'm jumping out of the car with a shovel smashing a window out of a store to rob the store, you can't have, we've only just begun, you know what I mean? Unless you maybe slowed the scene down. It might be kind of cool then. But anyway, so the reason I started listening to punk rock is because it was a soundtrack. It's a fucking great soundtrack, man. You want to put on, okay, that movie Crank, you know Crank? Yeah. Well, they got a TSOL song in that movie Crank, Fuck You Tough Guy. You know, it's going, boom, boom, boom. It's like, so when I was out doing shit, getting crazy, punk rock. Fuck, punk rock's the best. Now, when I got home, I'm listening to Barry White. I'm listening to the Delphonics. Because that's what I love. Like, for me, I love that shit. The Spinners. You know, it's like, that's why, but you can't play that for robberies. You can't go to robberies, listen to Spinners. You know, you can't, you know, blow something up with, you know, Bonnie and Delaney in your head or some fucking shit. So,
away from the explosion.
Yeah. So that's why I got into it. I got into it because it's backdrop for trouble.
That's actually pretty funny. And lastly, so what are you guys up to now?
So what we're up to now, I just finished, God, I sound like I want to kick my own ass when I say I just punched myself in the face. So I just directed a movie about us. It's called Ignore Heroes. And so it's about TSOL. And it's not really, I mean, it's about TSOL, but it's about the original members of TSOL, how we came together, how we kind of got into punk rock, how we fell apart. Basically, the band got destroyed, and then how the band ended up coming back together and how we play now. So it's really, it's a story about TSOL, but even more so, it's a story about the guys in the band, the original members of the band. That's what the story's about.